In this video, I'm going to be talking about why angels has eyes all over their body and the significance of those symbols. In the book of Ezekiel, we saw great scene, wonderful scene describing angels very off and out of imagination description of angels. The four living creatures was also included in the book of Revelation about angels having eyes all over their body. Why would that kind of thing be? What is the significance? What is the essence of all those things? And why will you need to know about the significance of all those things? The first reason why you should think about the significance of all those things is that most of these things that are described in the Bible has a lot of meaning, has a lot of things it wants to communicate to anyone that is willing to listen. Because everything that you are seeing in the Bible is like a code that is meant to be cracked. All those things are codes. They are like divine messages. They are high messages that if you're able to crack it, you break into a new dimension of insight and understanding. These angels, especially the seraphims, those angels that are very close to God, they are described with wings, 6 wings, and we can see eyes covered all over their body. Now, the first thing that I'm going to clear off is the issue of wings. Why are they covered with wings? I'm going to be sharing another type of secret that is in the Bible or maybe outside the Bible, but it is the frame of consciousness, is the frame of awareness that anyone that is going to be watching this video should hold it very tight so that you can be able to understand more of other things that I'm going to describe. There are 4 elements that this world was made of. These 4 elements are highly represented in every circle, in even any a deep society will always tell you about 4 elements. First element is the air or the ether. The second element is the fire. The third element is the water. Then the last element is the earth. Now, these 4 elements, it may not be this place that is the first place that you hear about it, but it is intertwined in every level of cosmic appearance or of how things are introduced from the unknown to the known. Even in the book of Genesis chapter 1, the description of creation will lay it down, but I'm not going to be describing so much, talking about the 4 elements exclusively in this video. I want to anchor the wind with the wing that those angels have. The most sublime element, or the element that is very close to abstraction or very close to spirituality, is the element of the air. The air is the most spiritual element. So anytime that God is being described or angels are being described, it's talking about beings coming from the ether, beings coming from the air, beings coming from the invisible. So anything that's coming from the invisible has wings so that it can carry it all over the place. The wing of the angels also represent their omnipresence. That means they have freedom of movement to any realm. They can transport themselves beyond like boundaries. They don't have boundaries. So that is the essence of the representation of seraphims with the wing, the 6 wings. Now we are through with the wing. Now let's talk about why angels are covered with eyes. The first reason is the reason of hierarchy of organs. Now we have 5 sense organs in our body, basic sense organs. So many people may argue this and say there are other sense organs, but at least basically you have 5 sense organs. We have our sight, which is an organ that we use to see, which is our eye. Then we have our ears, we have our nose for breathing and perceiving odor and smell, our tongue that we use in tasting food and knowing how food tastes, then our flesh that is used for feeling pain or touch. So these 5 sense organs are calibrated, even in our physical manifestation is calibrated into hierarchies. Every sense organ is very important, very, very important, but they are in the hierarchy of sense organs. We can say that the eye is the king of all sense organs, Why is the eye the king of all the whole sense organ? The first reason is that the eye is the closest to the brain. If you look at all your sense organ, it is the eye that is very close to the brain, and the brain represents the seat of consciousness. So it's the eye that first manifested itself, then the ear, then the nostrils, then the tongue, and the rest of the body, the skin and everything. The second reason why the eye is the king of still buttressing on hierarchy of organs is the eye is the only organ that can observe the most sublime stuff the universe is made up of. What do I mean? It is the eye that we use in sensing light. Light is the most sublime substance the universe is made up of, because even our physics made us to understand that light travels from a distance, from one distance to another, in the name of photon. In other words, as this light is traveling, it gets to a point where it interacts with consciousness. Consciousness is the frame of observation. Our frame of observation is the eye. So as photon is moving, it meets the eye. So this stuff, this most sublime stuff that the universe is made up of, that the eye permits us to observe, makes the eye the most important frame. Another thing again we need to think about is, since the eye is the stuff that we are using to observe the most sublime substance, or the fastest substance in the within our observation, we can see that our eye can see something from a very far distance. Our eye can interact with things that are many miles away. That is the only sense organ that can work, that can interact with things that are very far, because from here you can observe the stars that are very far, you can see things. It is through the eye that you have the ability to imagine, you have the ability to get your imagination. Even the name imagination comes from the eye concept, because you have to image is a stuff concerning the eye, imagination. So the concept of imagination comes to us through the eye, through our vision. So that all these things makes the eye the king of all of our sense organs. The second reason why these angels have eyes all over them is because of frames of consciousness. These angels don't have two eyes like we have. They have eye all over their body. They have eye all over their body. That means they can observe other dimensions of consciousness that is beyond just light. Follow me very closely. These angels are described as beings with eyes covering all over their body, not mouth, not the nose, not the ear, but the eye all over their body. It means that eye, remember I said eye is a spectrum through which we see light, this visible light. But another way you should also understand light is that eyes also locks us up to be able to observe other dimensions. In other words, our two binoculars, because animals always have binoculars, is a sight to us and also an imprisonment, because as we can see the photons coming as visible light to us, there are other dimensions of this stuff called light that we may not be able to see with our own binoculars. So these angels, they have eyes all over them because of this consciousness, or this universe is not only made up of the visible light. There are other dimensions, other spectrums, other color spectrums, other bigger things that may not come into our radar, that may not come into our own type of eyes. So these angels has even the ability to see beyond what animals or what we can see with our binoculars. So that means that it opens these beings up to different forms of consciousness, because the first thing that consciousness does is to give you organs to use and interact with things around. So these angels, they have consciousness of sight alone. They have consciousness of sight alone in order to interact with different frequencies of this energy called light, because it will be a big error to only classify light, or what light stands for, as only visible light. There are other dimensions of light, and these angels have eyes all over their body to use it and dictate other forms of consciousness or other spectrums that light may take form, but we are not aware of it. The third reasoning is interaction with things. Now remember, I said consciousness is all about interaction. Interaction with things means interaction with different dimensions of being. It's still buttressing the second point, which is frames of consciousness. This angel has the ability to interact in form of viewing, in form of recording, because every eyes must have a memory. And just like you are seeing this world now, you have imagination, you have memory to capture those images. So also these angels have interactive way that they are using to keep record of what has been happening. So these angels are not meant to speak to men. They are not meant to speak. They are only meant to observe what is happening and keep record of all that have been happening within consciousness or within this spectrum of creation. So that is why anytime you hear of 4 living creatures, you hear they are covered with eye. The fourth reason is it is the actual function of angels or of higher angels. It is the actual function of high angels. Many of us don't know that these beings called angels, they are not meant to interact with this universe. Interaction means they are not meant to speak. Not that they cannot speak. These angels can speak, but they are only giving eyes. They are only giving the eyes with a conscious mind of keeping record of what has been happening within this cosmos. So they are forbidden to interact. These high angels, they are forbidden to interact with humanoids. They are forbidden to interact or come into manifestation or alter what has been happening within this consciousness. They are just meant to keep record of how things are going within this trajectory of God's intelligence. But the major problem, that is why if you look at the Bible, especially if you read very well in the book of Genesis, it was talking about the angels of God that saw the daughters of men. These angels are called watchers. Why were they called watchers? They were called watchers because they are just meant to watch. They are just meant to watch what is happening within this frame. They are meant to just watch what has been happening and keep record of it. But they altered their own state, and then when they came into manifestation, they came with other organs. They came with the organ of speech. They began to speak to the daughters of men. They began to alter forbidden knowledge. Forbidden knowledge does not mean that the knowledge is actually forbidden. They began to speak to the daughters of men things that were coming from their former records. Remember, I told you that the eye is for imagination, and imagination is all about the image you're able to generate, and every imagination has records. So these angels have had records of things that have been before men came into manifestation. So they came into being with their mouth and they spoke different things. They spoke things that have been according to what they have recorded from ancients, from long time ago, beyond even human understanding. So they opened up the portals. They began to show men things like they are not supposed to know. So this is the sin of the watchers. So that is why angels are called the watchers, and that is why they have eyes covered all over their body. If this video did answer to your question, I want you to indicate in the comment section. Remember, I said this is an open place that we share our knowledge and also get insight from our viewers. So if you really understand what we are saying, I want you to just share with your friends and also subscribe to our channel and become part of what we stand for. And also you can check out more of our videos that are talking about angels, God, the devil, and so much more. Thank you for watching.